All right, I think we're live. My name is Peter Brusso. We're here at the 101 Small Business Mastermind podcast, and today we have a guest. We'll talk about him in just a second, but say good morning, Dick.
Good morning, Dick.
And say good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Dick.
And this is our new gentleman, Kyle Martin, Captain Kyle Martin of the United States Marine Corps, URA, who is representing himself only, and he's in an entrepreneurial program. And he's going to do some questions, and we're going to hopefully do some answers. So, good morning, Kyle.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
All right, good. So, before we get the interview, there's two things I want to do real quickly. First off, I was in a conference call this week, and it reminded me they were talking about a technical device from a company, and they had our salespeople talking to us or talking to them, and then they brought the sales engineer on board who talked them out of the product, so to speak, or at least was so nervous about the use of the product and how it was going to be used and all the problems and all the other stuff, and they called him the sales prevention team. And I thought, wow, what a great term. And how many times in our own businesses do we actually get too much into the weeds and get worried about the technicalities, which will take care of themselves in time, and we blow a deal that way. So that just wanted to bring that out to everybody. And then here I was on LinkedIn, and I like LinkedIn a lot. And they popped up and asked me, did you want to look or make some more connections? So I started, and I'm reading, and I'm clicking, and I like that person, I can connect with that one, and all of a sudden a thing popped up and says, enter their email. Why would I have to? I wouldn't even know them. I want to know their email, right? And we're connected like second or third tier out, and so there's a little question mark button, and I moused over the question mark button, and why are you getting this? And it's because you've added too many connections, and you're not allowed to do that. Why'd you ask me to do that in the first place then? Yeah. You know, why didn't you tell me I have a limit of 5 per time or something? But no, they kind of slapped you like, hey, dummy, you're just too much. But you asked me to do that. So I think LinkedIn needs to think about what they're asking people to do. That's a fractured business tale. I don't think that's a good policy. Initially, it would piss people off of even getting any connections, and if you don't have any connections, then LinkedIn just won't work. You know, so that's my put. Have you guys had any issues with that before, or Frank?
No, I haven't. Again, I just I guess I'm slow to get on LinkedIn. I'm now getting into Twitter, and obviously I'm on Facebook. But that sounds like a flaw in the system. They should have told you up front, hey Peter, you're allowed 5 a day or 5 per X amount of time period. Pick right. 5 that you'd like to be connected with, and then you would have said, great, here's a 5, and you'd have been happy, and you'd have gone on your merry way, and the next time they would have said, hey, pick 5 more. It would have made you happier, made LinkedIn more efficient, and we wouldn't be talking about how they had a bad experience. You had a bad experience on LinkedIn.
Well, that's a good question.
Reed Hastings, where are you?
Really? Hey, Kyle, I notice a boatload of Marines on LinkedIn. Is that a common thing for everybody?
It is, especially once you're starting to make the jump to transitioning. Okay. That's a prime tool to start networking within a professional network. It's a good experience towards a first professional network with other individuals, and also on the to the business tale that you just said, that's actually part of LinkedIn's business model. They have a professional services, and if you pay for the premium account, you can add more individuals. So it's part of their money-making ploy.
Yeah, well, I wish they would have told me that. It's terrible to find out you have those regulations. I think I knew that long ago, but I forgot about it. But it struck me wrong anyway.
And then specifically with that, for veterans specifically, there's a way, there's a contact through LinkedIn that will give you the upgrade for free.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow, that's worth looking at, as long as you're a veteran.
I believe so, yes.
Wow, that's cool. That's good. And I have one of my really good friends was Colonel Bill Johnson, who was tragically killed in a sailboat accident here about 4 years ago. And he's still got his LinkedIn account, and I still get stuff from him. And I told LinkedIn the guy's dead. Well, you have to prove it to us. I don't have to do anything. You know, I mean, God darn it. You know, at least pick up the phone and try to find out yourself. Then you've been alerted, but no. So why would I spend all that time to clean up their act? What's up with that? You know?
But the fact that he's still sending you stuff proves to me that there is Wi-Fi in the sky. That's cool. That is the ultimate cloud computing.
You know, and I keep endorsing him too, just for fun. You know, is that like wrong to endorse a dead guy? You know, but I keep giving him endorsements. He pops up. Oh, is Colonel Johnson good at this? Yes, he is. You know, and so I give him an endorsement. And off we go.
Yeah,
So,
I think LinkedIn does a lot of push information. I get all the time. So and so has accepted my request to the friend of it, and I don't know the person from Adam, so I think they do a lot of pushing to try to get you active in it. To be honest with you.
well, unless you do have those things, and you know, because it's a lot like Facebook now. You know, you have a timeline, and you can put your stuff out there for your connected people to see, which is really cool. I mean, I like that, and it's professional. But you know, I got that one friend request from a banker in Dubai. And so, oh, why? I've been there. Why not? And it turned out to be like the African letter. You have got $1 million sitting here. Send us your. And I couldn't believe that they got all the way to LinkedIn with that. You know, what the heck? You know, but there you go. All right, so Captain Kyle Martin, you came down and met the guys. I wasn't there at our business meeting that I used to go to, and you're you're in an entrepreneurial study group at USC, right?
Absolutely. So I'm at the University of Southern California, USC Marshall School of Business. We have a Master of Business for Veteran program. So I'm a student of that program. It's a weekend program. So every other weekend I commute down to LA from up here in the desert. Very intense, very MBA-like curriculum that's been condensed very much, and it's specifically tailored for the transitioning veteran like myself.
Mm-hmm. And so you have an active duty job to. That's not the right word. It's an active duty job, but you have an assignment to come out and talk to entrepreneurs, right? You want to talk about that?
Absolutely. So the impetus for me getting out and talking to entrepreneurs, I'm in an entrepreneurship class at the school, and for that we have an assignment to interview an entrepreneur. So that led me to the Business Growth Network meeting, and from that. Talking to those individuals, some of which right here on this program led me right here to do this interview.
You know, what's going to be cool about this is you can actually show this interview to your teachers. You know that, and how spiffy is that, young Marine, to use a podcast to do it? You know.
Absolutely, and one of the things we're going to be doing is presenting our findings and our experience to the class. So I could potentially show a snippet from this very podcast.
Yep, that would be pretty clever. Now, what we're going to do, we decided you had a number of questions to ask us. So we might just ask the first question, and each one of us get to answer it. Then you go to the second question, and that'll keep the thing moving. I think that would be best. So what's your first question, and who wants to field that?
Absolutely. Describe your first entrepreneurial endeavor.
Frank, you want to take a stab at that?
Sure. Yeah, my first endeavor was in 1993. I started my career as a high school teacher, and then went into the corporate world in the IT department, into we called it data processing back then. And I joined a software company, was with them for 14 years, took them to a successful IPO, and was abruptly dismissed in the spring of 1993. And that's when I decided to become an entrepreneur.
And that happens quite often in the corporate world. Once they go public, they usually get rid of everybody.
Yeah, but that happens to other people, not to you.
Of course. I'm special. I'm the prize, so it'll never happen.
That's right.
You know,
I'm the exception.
I know that. Yeah, like I've never been fired, right? Okay, so Dick, what was yours?
Well, I'm a latecomer to this entrepreneur world. I spent 40-plus years in corporate America in electronics distribution, sales, marketing, pretty much the gamut of what you could do there. And I retired, and about 4 years after I retired, I realized I was bored. I think I was getting stale, and I decided I wanted to do something. And I decided I wanted to do a home-based business because at the time I was a snowbird going back from Connecticut to here in the desert and all. So I did some research and came up with a home-based business I thought fit me and stuff I could get behind. So I'm really 2 years into this, and I started it when I was 73 years old, and it's been quite an experience.
Oh, and while we're on that, can I have a surfboard update?
Sure. My surfboards, as we show every week, I gave out probably about 110 of them this week because I was at a golf tournament manning a chamber booth. But I was at a mixer last night and very successful. Gave out about 5 of them. To talk to the mayor of the city that I was at. Very interested in pursuing maybe our group's benefit program. And again, I've said it the last couple of weeks. When I walk into a social mixer business network thing, I feel like I have an advantage over the other people who are handing out business cards when I give people this. There's always a comment or discussion. Does it always lead to someone signing up with no? But it enhances my chances dramatically.
Okay. And I think I'm going to pick my first, well, it really wasn't my first, but it's the one that went, I think, the farthest in myself. I always was a big Anthony Robbins fan, and all of the motivators and people like that. And I realized that I could teach people to be successful in life, but I needed a process that everybody knows how to do. And so I picked a Frisbee, and I taught people how to visualize and how to update and link themselves into their performance by using a Frisbee. And so the start was how to be successful in anything in life, and I use a Frisbee to do that. And off I went with that, and it led me, well, you'll hear more of the story, but it really launched a very interesting twist in my life. So, okay, young Kyle.
Peter,
yeah.
Before we go on to the next one, I'd just like to mention that Kyle's going to the Gordon Marshall School of Business at USC. That was named after the founder, CEO, and chairman of Marshall Industries, a company that I spent close to 30 years with, and I still speak with the gentleman. He's 93 years old, and he is the ultimate entrepreneur in my mind. He started that business as a manufacturer's rep. His first line of products was poker chip. His first commission check was $8, and when we sold the company, we sold it to another company for our revenue was $1.8 billion. So to me, he's my idol as an entrepreneur, and I just want to give him a little bit of recognition on it.
Good shout out. Now, when was the last time you talked to him?
A couple weeks ago.
Really?
I call him. I haven't seen him for about 6 months, but I call him every couple of weeks to say hello.
Might it be appropriate to introduce Kyle to him?
Yeah, I absolutely would.
Now, how cool would that be, Kyle, if we got you that interview at the school named after the guy?
That'd be incredible.
Yeah, that's a mind blower.
I'll give him a call either today or tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, we could do it either in person or get him on the phone or something, but and record it. I can Kyle how to do that if he doesn't already know how to do that, but that would be a windfall. So there's an action item for you, Dick.
Yep, you got it.
All right. Young Kyle, what's the next question?
All right, next question. What were the perceived risks associated with that first startup that you were a part of?
Frank?
Yeah, I'll start off every question. The perceived risk was the two biggest ones. Was you had no longer had a paycheck, and you no longer had health benefits, and the paycheck I was prepared for because I had some financial cushion that I could support me, but this is back in 93, 94. The problem was the health benefits. I had a heart attack a few years before, 4 years before, and I was uninsurable and could not get health insurance. And so that caused me, that was as it turns out, that was the biggest risk, was the health benefits, not the paycheck.
Wow.
In my case.
Wow, that's got to be a tightener. Yeah,
Well,
okay.
I talk about stress causing another heart attack.
I know that. I mean, that's enough
Yeah.
to have a heart attack.
Yeah.
A follow-on question to that: how did you overcome that risk?
Oh, I was again. This was in the state of California. I looked at the high risk pool that they had in California. I don't know if it was a state or a federal. I wound up. I worked with some insurance brokers, and I wound up declaring myself as a non-productive farmer. I lived in a condo in Huntington Beach. Okay. The only land I had, the only dirt I had was outside my front door where I would wipe my shoes. But I was able to join a group of farmers and get health insurance that way. And it was not farmers insurance; it was a group of farmers getting health insurance through. I got a group plan, which means I was automatically accepted into health insurance. So that's how I solved it.
Well, we have a group of illegal aliens coming through.
They are no longer illegal.
Yes, undocumented immigrants. Yes,
Thank
sorry.
you.
And I'm about ready to have workplace violence.
Okay, and we are not going to talk about politics.
That's right. Sorry. My fault. My bad. Okay, Dick. So you're up on the next question there.
Well, that's a tough question for you because there really wasn't any real risk. I was 73 years old, retired. I'm on Social Security and Medicare and some investment money. So the risk, I guess I could say I took was failing. I've never failed at anything I've done in my life. So I guess it was going into a brand new type of business. Network marketing is a different world than I was used to. So I can't say I had a lot of risk. I could say that the risk I took by not doing it was probably greater, and that would be that I probably would not live as long as I am now because I could feel my brain is sharp again. I'm using it. I'm doing things. I'm active, and I'm not sitting out reading a Kindle book and smoking a cigar. So I think the risk was greater if I didn't do it than by doing it.
Well, you forgot the poppies water.
And the poppies water, but I still do the poppies water.
Oh, yes. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, and for me, too, I was actually laid off from my aerospace career, and I was the first wave of layoffs, and I shouldn't have been by any means. I was way up in the management chain of command. It's just that I had a lot of political enemies, and I actually considered myself lucky to be the first one out the door. And I started up the first thing I did was to hire a PR firm, a marketing firm actually, that got together a focus group to go through my program and rate it. And going through that program, we would go really quickly, we would go do Frisbee golf at a park. And I gave no instruction whatsoever on Frisbee golf. And then the second round, I taught them how to visualize their throw, visualize the path, visualize you hitting the target, all this with your eyes closed, and then just open your eyes and throw the disc. And the change in their performance was remarkable. And I did no mechanics whatsoever, which is where I was saying it's all up here in your head. It is not in your hands. It's in your head. And my risk was I had my twins that were a year and a half old and a wife and no paycheck. And that's why out I went. And I spent $3,400 on that marketing firm to get that focus group. And the real break came. A guy was in the focus group that I did not know that was a golfer. And he asked, would this work in golf? I've never golfed in my life. And I said, sure, it'll work on anything. And off we went. And I built a golf program out of it. Okay, next question there, young Kyle.
All right. So, what lessons did you learn from your from the first experience? What would you do differently, or what lessons did you apply to future entrepreneurial endeavors?
God, I have to write this stuff down.
All right, that's a three-part question, Kyle.
That is, Kyle. Let's break it into one piece at a time, Kyle. This are three old fat guys.
All right.
That far, okay?
All right.
First question with potential follow-on questions. How about that?
I love it.
Right.
What lessons did you learn?
Okay, I learned a couple of lessons. Number one, I really liked being my own boss. I really liked being in control of my destiny. I really liked not having to ask permission to take an earlier lunch, to take a day off and go see a movie, again, the freedom to do what I want and the opportunity to be as successful as I want was awesome. So that was the good lesson. The bad lesson, there were two lessons, Carl. I'll share the bad lesson with you. Is my first company was I was selling consulting services to CEOs of small businesses in the Long Beach area, Long Beach, Torrance. You're familiar with it's called South Bay out here in LA. You had to be a CEO president, else I wouldn't talk to you. And you paid me, I know, $700 a month to meet with me, one day a month to work on your business issues. I went in with the only experience I had was my software experience, and the lesson I learned was I didn't like chasing prospects. I brought value, they didn't see it, and they were running away from me, and I didn't understand that, and I hated that, which caused me to where I am today, but that'll be a follow-up question for later. So lessons was my own boss, control my own destiny. I hate chasing prospects. Those are my three lessons.
Dick?
Okay, I come at it from a little different view. I spent 40 years in the electronics distribution industry, and I worked for two companies. And I will be honest with you, I loved it. I loved the corporate structure. I worked my way up in the warehouse to, high levels of the thing, and I loved it. So when I retired, the lesson I learned was I retired too early. I should have stayed. I should have stayed involved with it. The other lesson I learned is network marketing. I would have been more successful more quickly if I had done more research on network marketing, not the companies within it, but just the experience of network marketing is a lot different than what I did. I sold for all my life. I managed 600 salespeople, and when I signed on this, I thought this is going to be a snap. I can sell, anything. Turns out it's an entirely different experience. So any advice I would give anyone going into network marketing is understand network marketing before you pick what company you want to go with. It's a great field, it's a great industry. People are making tons of money, but I had to learn the lesson the hard way. It probably cost me 6 to 9 months of growth where I just didn't understand. I was trying to do it my way, and there's a network marketing way that I had to adapt to and be part of.
Let me see. Lessons learned. I think the biggest thing that I had to roll into this thing is that all these golfers. I ended up in this golfing thing and creating this incredible golfing program where I could roll 10 strokes off your game in 4 hours or less, so you don't pay me. That money back guarantee was an important strategy piece that I had to learn. If you really believe in your product, and it has to be demonstratable. You have TaylorMade and all these other golf companies that will make another widget, another driver, and get you a few more yards and this and that, and everybody goes and buys that, and they try that, and there's no guarantee. I gave a guarantee, and that was I had to take a look at the black and white aspect of what I was going to do with that. That was one lesson that I really learned, and that was a very valuable piece even to this day in my life. That I guarantee my websites, I guarantee stuff, whatever that it has to have a guarantee of performance connected to it. That was one of my biggest learning lessons. All right, next question.
All right. What lessons did you apply to what you were doing or future endeavors?
Okay, I guess we're back to me again. The lesson I applied was, and I knew this, but it hit me in spades, is that when I was in the corporate world, I could assign tasks to other people that either worked with me or for me. And and it was easy to assign things I didn't want to do. I thought were beneath me, which was very snobbish of me, and I feel badly for that today. Um, I learned that if I don't do it, it doesn't get done. It doesn't, and if you don't do it, it shows. And if it shows, you don't look good. And if you don't look good, you don't make sales. And if you don't make sales, you don't eat. And it's like you heard of Domino's Pizza. This was Frank's Domino lessons that whatever you did helped, whatever you didn't do that you should have done hurt. And that was probably the biggest lesson that I still, in fact, I've applied it since 1993 when I became an entrepreneur. And I would say do it. Now, when you get big enough and you can afford virtual or people to help you, that's a different story. But when you're starting out, an entrepreneur, again, Nike said it best. Just do it. That's my lesson. Those lessons I applied.
Dick?
Well, I guess the lesson that I learned was don't assume anything, and the way I've applied it is I do a lot of self-improvement on network marketing. There's a couple of people that are gurus in the thing, and I'm going through a 7 course thing right now by a gentleman called Eric Worre, who has been very successful. And I'm really learning the art of network marketing. My impression, I'll be very honest with you, of network marketing was, it's just a pyramid scheme. It's a few people make money and then the rest of the people do all the work. And in some respects, you could say that's corporate America, because when I was the number 3 guy in the corporation, I made a lot more money than the guy who sold or customer service. So the lesson that I'm applying right now that I learned from starting up my business was learn the industry you're in. And I'm really learning a lot. Like I say, I spend maybe about half hour, 45 minutes at the end of the day listening to this guy's videos to understand fully the network marketing industry and how valuable and how good of an industry it is, and it changed my perception of it.
What was the question?
It was,
That's the second sign.
what lessons did you apply to your business or future endeavors?
Well, I think part of what Dick had to say was true too. In those days and age, we were just pre-internet. It was 90, and so we didn't have the sales tools and the other things. So I had to go develop all of my brochures. I hired a sound studio to be able to do my program, sell a tape, get it shrink wrapped, doing all the things that Frank said. You would have other people do, but you got to do it all now. And nothing's beneath you, and you wouldn't, at the end of the day, you wouldn't have it any other way, because you have a chance to experience all the aspects of the business that you're building. So when you hire people to do those things and they start telling you why they can't do it, you start telling them why they can do it, and you know better. They might be afraid to sell. And Dick, one of the things you did was you learned to build your own website. You realized your network marketing, you had to have a website these days. You had to have these new tools, and
right.
You've been very successful at developing and deploying new tools to help you. So
right.
I just want to add that.
Yeah, absolutely. That goes with, I think, the educating myself, not just on the network marketing industry, but the world that we're trying to operate in and be successful in. And when I first met Peter, I was a novice at a lot of the things, and now I'm okay at it. He's taught me a lot, and I see the value of the digital world that we live in right now and how it applies to the business I'm in. So yeah, absolutely, Peter.
I mean, even up to the point where we couldn't get people who said they wanted to get involved with your program. Your standard telephone calls, like we're used to in the past, just didn't work. Texts work.
Yeah.
And this new world out there is moving so quickly that how everybody responds to each other business-wise is rapidly changing. So,
right. Absolutely.
All right. So what's the next question there, Kyle?
All right. What would you do differently in regards to your first entrepreneurial endeavor or subsequent?
I would focus more on my message and less, because again, I was really selling myself. I was as a consultant, you sell your expertise, your knowledge, your experience. I focused a lot on all the great things I thought I had done, and I did do. Great in my mind. Great's in the eye of the beholder. What I would do today, and what I advise everyone to do today, is people really don't care what you do. They really don't. And Kyle, you're going to go into this role. People don't care what Kyle Martin does. You know what they care about? What can Kyle Martin do for me? And that comes across in your message. I call it a story, but that's my nomenclature. I would focus a lot more on promoting what I can do for people, making them the hero, making them the star, as opposed to promoting myself and how great I am and look at all the great things I've done. Congratulations, I don't care, move on. So that was the biggest thing that I would do differently.
Dick?
Well, it's kind of like I said to the previous question. I absolutely would have educated myself on network marketing and changed, and my perception of it was one thing. Reality, they say perception is reality. Well, in this case, it wasn't. My perception was all wrong, and I should have done a lot more research on the industry as well. I did a lot of research on the companies within the industry, but none on the industry. So I started out as just awfully, because of the fact I didn't understand the industry I was trying to operate in. And so I would advise anyone who's looking to become an entrepreneur, no matter if it's network marketing or it's web development, or if, like Frank's, the consultation, the storytelling thing, pick the industry, learn all you can about that industry before you even start trying to promote anything within the industry. I didn't do that. And like I say, it probably cost me 6 to 9 months progress because I didn't do that.
The thing that I think that I realized, and when teaching this golf program to take 10 strokes off your game in 4 hours or less, or you don't pay me, I ended up teaching people that were scratch golfers. I taught people in golf colleges and improved their play dramatically. I went out on the tour. I worked with tour players. They were flabbergasted at what they could do with this process that I had. And when I came back from all of that, I put a Pinky Stevenson on the seniors tour. He watched me work with people, and he came running over one day at the golf course and said, "Can you put me on the tour?" And I said, "Yeah, I can do that." Anton Simpson, one of my business partners, and for a long time, 25 years, always said that I was too stupid to know I couldn't fail. I had the courage of a cruise missile. but the thing that really killed me was what I ran into, the social aspect of golfing. People don't really want to get better. They say they do, but they don't. And why? Because they have their buddies and they bitch about they got this and this didn't work, and it's a social bitch network. And there were very few that really wanted to increase in their game. Most of it was social bitching, and I did not factor that in to what I was doing. That's my only regret. All right, Kyle, what's the next one?
All right, so what has been your greatest success as an entrepreneur? Then the follow-on to that would be, what is the recipe for that success?
One at a time now, Kyle. We're three old fat white guys, okay?
All right, so stick with it. What is your greatest success as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, okay. I have yet to achieve it. My next one will be greater than my previous one. My greatest success has really been me. How much I have evolved from 1993 to now 22 years later. If I knew in 1993, and that's beautiful, this was pre-internet. With internet, it is so much easier. But just pre-internet. I said this the other day. In fact, you're in the meeting. You may have been there when I said it, Kyle. We had the internet in 1993, and we had Google. We called it the encyclopedia. We went to a shelf, tried to find the right book, and flipped through pages to get all the answers we wanted. But my greatest success was me. I am very, very proud and much more valuable today than I was 22 years ago, and I will be more valuable next month than I am this month. So what was the second part of your question? Again, you got three fat old white guys here, Kyle. I'll make sure we get the question.
What's the recipe for that success?
The recipe for that success is, again, I mentioned the first one. You are not the hero. Your customer's got to be the hero. Your client's got to be the hero. Never stop learning is the recipe. The world today, thanks to Twitter, is 140 characters long. That's the world we live in. I developed a system called 27 seconds where you can get your story across, and people have an 8-second attention span. I call it the ADD world. The lesson is never stop learning, evolve, and grow. That's it.
And throw your fishing lures away. The next shiny thing.
Not a big.
Yeah, okay. Dick?
I guess my greatest success has been that I've evolved into a good network marketer, approaching a very good network marketer, and I just feel so much differently about how to approach my business. A lot of it I've learned through seminars online and things like that. Most of it comes from people like Peter and Frank have helped me a great deal, and just the experience of time. So I've become a good network marketer, and I think I will evolve into a very good network marketer. What was the second part, Kyle?
What's the recipe for that success?
The recipe of success is anything you do in life. I think I've always been the type of person that I don't look at the goal as far as when how much money I make and all these things and how many people I sign up. I've always had the philosophy that if I put my head down and focus on the task at hand and do a good job and satisfy it's always customers with me, satisfy the customer, satisfy my vendors, the results are going to show in monetary and promotions and things like this. I would have people come into my office say, well, how do I get a promotion? I said, well, be the best at the job you're doing. Don't worry about the promotion. Just do the job you're doing better than anyone else, and you'll get your promotion. I was in an industry full of college graduates and MBAs and all. I never went to college in my life, so I knew when I took on an assignment, I had to do it better than they did, and I usually did, and that's how I grew. And that's what I'm applying to my present home-based business. Just do it better than anyone else, and you'll be successful. So that's how I apply it.
Yeah, for me, I think one of the biggest hits that I had, because I like to term myself a serial entrepreneur, was the advertising signs you see down in the NBA, courtside, that move. We invented those, Anton and myself, and built them out. And we put the first ones in the Boston Gardens and flew all around doing that. Made 5.4 on one patent alone. And so that was probably one of my biggest successes. That led us, by the way, to revamp the vending machine industry. We have about 40,000 units now from China in America, slugging it out, changing the way the vending world that does things. And Frank, when I was talking to Kyle yesterday, is one of the things that Frank always likes to harp on is that be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to be different. Be yourself. That's the unique piece of part of the recipe for success. Is don't try to emulate somebody else and hit them head on head. Think differently. Think out of the box completely. And so that big success wise, what did I really learn from this? I mean, one of the two key pieces, I think, is that why do people pay you money? And I talk to CEOs about this. Why do people pay you money? And they say, because I'm smarter, I have a PhD or whatever. And none of that's true. People pay you money because you add value in their life. When you stop adding value in their life, they're going to stop paying you. And I don't care what entrepreneurial thing you do, what business you do, and I'm not getting railroaded into this, here comes a train, but realize why people pay you money, because you add value in their life. Kind of going back to what Frank had to say, it's what's in it for me. Okay. Part of the recipe for success is, the first part of that is to believe in yourself. You'll get all kinds of naysayers, all kinds of people who'll tell you what you want to do is stupid. Oh, that's dumb. Even Walt Disney, he'd show a new idea for a ride at the amusement park. If 9 people said it was stupid, he built it. And there's always this not invented here stuff. Okay, so I once had another interesting mentor, so to speak, and I was that sales prevention team at one point in my life, and concerned about too much engineering stuff. And he said to me, and this has always stuck with me forever, is that anyone can kill a deal. It takes a special person to make a deal. And you really want to grasp that, because if you're going to go start a company or you're going to go do something, there's 100 ways and 100 people that are going to kill it, but it takes a special person to make that deal. Anybody can kill it. That's easy. But it takes a special person to make it. So that's what my recipe would be. All right, next question.
All right. What failures have you had, and how have you learned from those failures?
Oh, God. How long is this podcast?
No, we're just going to pick one. Okay, I guess my most spectacular failure, because I was responsible, and quite a few people lost quite a bit of money, is I was in a software business, that company that abruptly let me go after 14 years. And so I had the great idea of starting my own software company. And I went around and raised money. It was a medical software company. And I went around the country raising money and got raised a few dollars from doctors, as a matter of fact, strictly from doctors. And I had everything going in place, and the two things that bit me in the rear end was I brought the wrong people on board. I brought the people who I liked as opposed to the people who I needed. And I really made that mistake, and that cost me. And the second biggest mistake, Kyle, was I believed so much that I could overcome the competition, and we were doing well, and we had a nice little niche in the market ready to explode, and GE came in with a new product, and GE spent more on pencils than I spent on R&D, and within a week to a month we were out of business, and I lost my dream, and my investors lost their money, and that's my biggest failure, and those are the two biggest lessons I learned. Pick the right people to work with. If you have a choice between you like someone, you respect someone, go with respect. You'll like them later if they do good things for you. And another thing is always look around, because someone's trying to chase you to take away. If you have a good idea, there's someone that's going to want to do it better, cheaper, and faster. And if they have the money, chances are they will. And those are the two things, my biggest failure and the lessons I learned from that.
Dick?
Well, I guess from when I was in corporate America, you always have some failures, mistakes. But I at one time, I messed up a deal really, really bad, and it could have cost us a major customer. It did cost us a lot of money to fix the problem. And then I had to go into Gordon Marshall's office and explain to him what happened. And what I learned from that was, and he could be a tough guy, after going through the whole thing and admitting, you admit you screwed up, you admit you failed, and I was very honest with him. I said, I just messed it up. He said to me, don't do it again. He says, everyone can make a mistake and screw up. Don't do the same mistake again. And he said, and don't be afraid to take chances. So I learned a great deal from him on that one. I already talked about my 9-month failure with Legal Shield here and what I've done about it. And it's an interesting question, Kyle, because last night I was reading the paper and I was reading my horoscope. I'm a Scorpio. The horoscope says, if you don't pass failure on the way to success, you're not aiming for a significant enough success. Failure, that I've learned about, is failure is part of succeeding. It's what you do after you fail that counts. And one, like I say, You admit you failed. You admit you screwed up, and you say, and then when you're dealing with a client, you say, what can I do to fix it? You don't argue with them when it's your fault, and you take the bull by the horns and deal with it. You sit back and you say, okay, what did I do? In my case, when I was working for Marshall, I just got greedy. I thought we could make a great deal, and I didn't do enough research, so I just got greedy. So the lesson I learned is, if it looks too good to be true, it probably isn't true. But that's my advice for anyone in any business. When you fail, own up to it, correct it, and diagnose what you did wrong so you don't do it again.
You know, I'm a pilot, and the first thing, if you're lost, they talk the 3 C's is climb, communicate, and confess. And you had to do that. And you're going in the guy's office. Yeah. You had to climb in there. You had to communicate, and you had to confess. I blew it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good point. I think my biggest failure was success. Oddly enough, we made enough money that we got maybe not as hungry, and kind of got into this mature phase of building and inventing new stuff. And as a matter of fact, that rotating sign, out of the 15 or 12 patents on the world, we own 7 of them. And every week, I'd invent a new way of doing something with this. That instead of and we enjoyed the cash flow, but instead of really deploying them, pushing them further, there was a slump in there until I started to deploy taxi cab signs and signs inside of the buses that go to the shuttle buses and stuff. So I think success became a bit of my failure, not staying hungry enough and pushing forward. Let me see. What else did we do? What was the other thing with that?
What did you learn from those failures?
I think what I learned to do is use Microsoft Project more. That sounds like a strange thing, but planning. To fail to plan is to plan to fail. And if you put out a plan, you got to be marching that plan, walking that plan, stay the course. Don't run after the next shiny thing. Don't organize your sock drawer because it's too uncomfortable for what you're doing. And we all have had those pleasure and pain moments like that, where you do your taxes, right? No, terrible. I'll do it next week. Keep putting it off until finally the deadline's there, and now there's so much pain on you that doing the taxes feels good. There's that switch there. So I think that what I learned was to plan more, follow the plan, update the plan, don't abandon the plan, and keep those goals in front of you on a daily basis. And as an entrepreneur who works at home, you can get distracted very easily doing all kinds of other stuff as opposed to what you got to do. Back to what Frank was saying, there's a lot of stuff you just got to do because you're the only person doing it now. That's what that's my lesson. Next question. We have about 12 more minutes.
All right. What makes an entrepreneur different?
Frank.
Thank you for that setup, Kyle. One of the phrases I use is everybody wants to be better. We're better than Acme, or we're better than Microsoft, or we're better than McDonald's, or we're better than whatever it is. Whoopee. So the next guy that I'm going to talk about, next guy, gal, I'm going to talk about, you know what they're going to say? I'm better than Frank. All right. The one thing that no one could ever copy, and Kyle, I'm going to address this to you because I know you're going to be transitioning 3 to 5 years. We'll use that as your time frame into the entrepreneurial world. And you don't know where you're going to go, so you're going to start with the IT and you're going to go someplace else probably. The one thing competitors, and you will have competitors, especially with the internet, you'll have lots of competitors. The one thing your competitors cannot copy, the one thing they cannot duplicate is you. You, Kyle, me, Frank, Dick, or Peter, whoever else we're talking about. You, again, if you're selling apples, then you're in a commodity business. Then you better be a Walmart because somebody will sell an apple cheap. But if you're selling your expertise, your process, your way of doing things. You've learned, again, because we had a chance to talk Tuesday morning. You have learned so much in your experience, what you've done with Guantanamo, and also in the Middle East, which is invaluable. Package that, productize that, and price that. No one, I don't care who Apple brings on board, Google brings on board, or Elon Musk brings on board, they can never become a Kyle like you are. So you are the prize when you're going out there soliciting business. Your customer is the prize and a hero when they become a client. So that would be my answer to that.
I'm going to take a little different approach. Surprise, surprise.
Oh, contrast. There we go, contrast. Jane, you ignorant. Go ahead.
I think I think to be a successful entrepreneur, what Frank says is right when you become an entrepreneur, but to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be willing to be take the chance, make the hard decisions that need to be made, not have the corporate umbrella. Like I said, I had a corporate umbrella that I worked for years. I loved it. But I also, think that a lot of people are afraid to leave the corporate umbrella. If you're the type of person that needs, people around you, an office, and that environment, you can't be an entrepreneur. You have to you have to get up in the morning and have an unyielding focus for as long as your day is on improving your business. And like both guys have said, there's a lot of distractions along the way. So to be an entrepreneur, you have to have the vision, the focus, the drive, the self-discipline, not to get distracted by all the things that the environment around you shows you. So I think you really need to be kind of a very independent person that doesn't need a lot of support outside of what they're doing. And I think it's not easy. I again have learned that over the years. It's not easy. I'm sitting in my home now in a little office, and my wife comes in and asks me a question, and an hour later I'm trying to get back to something, and so you really need to have a focus, a vision, a plan, and Peter's idea, failure to plan is planning to fail is so true, because if you don't have the plan, once the interruption is over, you know which way you're going to go. You have to have that road that you follow, because the interruptions are going to be there, unless you just say, after 51 years, I don't think I'd say to her, get out of the house while I'm working. You're going to have distractions. You're going to have phones ringing, people calling you, stuff. So be successful. You have to be committed. You have to be a self-starter, work for yourself, and have the plan, so when the distractions come, you get back on track once they leave.
Yeah, this is probably the toughest question to answer. What makes us different? We used to see at least once a week people that would come to our network meetings, and nothing ever changes for them. They absolutely are stuck in a rut. They're fatally flawed. If they would change the one flaw, they'd get moving again. I think introspection. Dick's real tough on himself, and I think all of us are. We look at stuff, and because we're friends, I'll ask Frank, okay, Frank, what's the plan for your website, Frank? I need dates, or I'm not working with you. You have to be able to do that. And hey, there's coming Phil. And so I think the entrepreneur has to be driven. The entrepreneur has to really believe in themselves. They have to be able to prioritize. They have to be able to stick to a schedule, and realize it's not a job, it's an adventure, and that adventure is constantly changing, and you have to be flexible enough to change with that environment as you move along. I think that's what makes us different. And around these tables that we go to meet people, you can pick out where people are stuck, and where they're They're not changing, and each week we hear the same thing. Each week we see the same thing. No change, no change, and they're not. They don't have a plan. If they had a plan, they abandoned the plan too quickly. That's I think to be an entrepreneur, you have to be a different creature, and there are very few real entrepreneurs, and it's a life that you wouldn't wish on anybody. I mean, half the time, I can remember my wife would wake me up in the middle of the night like a marketing manager. Where's our money coming in? We got bills to pay. And in the middle of the night, I have to deal with that. And yeah, you're right. I got lost in the part. I got to go make some collectibles here and or sell something. And that's another thing an entrepreneur is. He is creative. He or she is creative. I thought I owed a $6,000 IRS bill. And inside of 2 days, I made on one of my websites, I made a special offer that generated almost 8,000 in sales, and I found out that I didn't owe the 6,000. But my panic mode was, well, what am I going to do? Well, what's an engineer say? Make more money. We're going to sell something. We'll package something different, like Frank talks about. Put a new product, package it, and promote it, and get it out there. And so it's a different way of thinking altogether.
All right, I have one final question, and tell me about the entrepreneurial thought process. How do you see opportunities? How do you come up with different opportunities?
Frank?
Very good. It is much easier today to be an entrepreneur. It is much more difficult today to be a successful entrepreneur. Okay? Anyone can publish. Anyone can. I mean, look at what we're doing today. In 1993, when I became an entrepreneur, I'd have to go to a TV station to find a way where I could broadcast, maybe, and again, I don't want to go into all that. If I wanted to write a book, I had to go to a publisher. If I wanted to do anything, I had to go outside. Today, and I'll hold up, today I have everything right here on my phone. I'll turn off the light. Okay, it is much easier to be an entrepreneur today. There are problems to be solved. Oh, I want to talk about some of that, Peter, because it's going back to what Peter said. I'm a big Steve Jobs fan, as the businessman, not as the person who was a jackass, but as a businessman. And I watched an interview the other day of one of his close inner circle friends. Was a lady who was in charge of the marketing department for Apple when Steve came back after Scully left. And she said something that I still remember today, and I'll tie it back to you, Kyle. She says, and she was talking in an interview, and she says, everybody loves Steve Jobs and what he did and so forth. And then she said, here, listen to this, what she said. She said, the world is not waiting, nor do they want the next Steve Jobs. The world is waiting for the first Kyle Martin. Kyle, do something. What are you going to do? Look around you. Look around you. A question I like to ask my clients is, what really ticks you off about what you're doing? What with me, it was cold calling. Me, it was chasing. Me, it was begging for business. Are you kidding me? I have more damn knowledge here that would help you at business than you'll ever get unless you hire me. And yet I was doing that. Find a problem, Kyle, that is not being addressed. Come up with the Kyle Martin solution, not the Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk solution, the Kyle Martin solution. You have a unique talent. You have experiences that people, years of Wharton or Stanford or Harvard Business School will never do what you did in the Middle East and Guantanamo Bay with your experiences, which is valuable. I don't know if you're going to be around, but next week I'm going to talk about, call it twin, about a lady who had zero experience in the field she went into last year, and today she's a superstar, and they just broke a world record Tuesday of this week. That's going to be my item for next week. So find something that has to be fixed, fix it your way, package it, promote it, and sell it, and you're a success. Boom, I'm done.
Kyle, are you referring to creating opportunities within our existing business, or someone who's thinking about being an entrepreneur?
Both.
Okay. I think if you're thinking about starting a business, uh, there are different types of entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur within a network marketing group that the product is provided to me, and I have to go out and market it. Then there's the entrepreneur that Frank and Peter talked about, with that, hey, I have an idea, I want to start a business. Okay, if that's the case, you have to really do a lot of research. To Frank's point, is there a market for it? How would I market it so they know? How do I get finances and all? So I would recommend to that person to really do a lot of research, put together a business plan, and really think it through as to how you're going to market before quit your day job and start this, and then start spending a lot of money on a maybe a great product, but you don't have the financing, you don't have the market, the vehicle to market, you don't understand the market. So research would be my advice to those types. For people who want to get into marketing, again, research. What kind of business do you want to get in? I researched 10 different companies before I landed on Legal Shield, because it fit my personality. It fit the type of selling that I'm used to, as far as more of a professional selling. I'm not selling cosmetics, and I'm going to make people look 20 years younger and all. I'm not telling them they should lose weight, because then they're going to look at me and say, well, why don't you use the product? So I researched what fit me. As far as within my existing thing, I have the ability to sell plans to an individual, to small companies, and to corporations as a fringe benefit. So I allocate a certain amount of my time on each one of them to research and try to find new prospective clients. And unlike Frank, I do believe in cold calls. I do make cold calls. Do I, do I get hung up on? Yeah, I do. But one person say, yeah, I'd love to see you. That's worth it. So I think if you're looking at your existing business, just explore the markets you can serve. See what you got to do to get into them. Some of them, cold calls do work. Some don't work. Do a lot of networking, meet a lot of people. Have a lot of good people around you that are probably smarter than you, like Peter and Frank and all, to help you through your times and give you advice, and go forward. Just don't worry about failing. Just when you fail, I read a book, and I'm a flat believer. If I get 30 people that say no to me today, that's great, because I probably had 10 who said yes. So don't worry about rejection. It's it's nothing. It's not a personal. It's a business, as they said in The Godfather. It's not personal. It's just business, Sonny. That's it. So that would be my advice. Peter, can't hear you.
One of the things that Anthony and I always talked about was Fanafy. Find a need and fill it. And part of what we're trying to do with the Fractured Business Tales is, during our daily life that we go along, where do we run into businesses and where do they fail? And take a look at that. There's an opportunity there. Okay, so last night I just got into canning. Sounds stupid. I'm excited by canning. And so I had canned some garbanzo beans that I wanted to use for hummus. So I went to go get my canned garbanzo beans off the shelf. I was so proud. And it looks like a jar like this. And I took the lid off, the ring lid, and I could not get that lid off to save my soul. I did all this prep. Now I can't be the only person that, after this thing gets vacuum packed, has problem taking that lid off, okay? And I ended up having to use my self-defense tool, hook under the lid, and pick it off that way. But there's a problem that needs to get solved. Now, I haven't done the research like Dick talks about. I'm sure that Phil, of course he's on mute at the moment, his grandmother, he used to can all the time. So there's got to be an easier tool in getting that freaking lid off. But it's just like that. You look at that and you run into problems, and some people would say, God, I'm having a bad day. God, this shouldn't work like this. And they're more focused on the negative stuff than they are about, this is an opportunity. And so it's a different way of thinking. Like there was a guy, like, I could solve traffic jams on the freeway. And it's just a matter of what station you're tuned to. When you're getting on the freeway, you should be on easy listening, because if you're not on the freeway yet, you ain't shit. Okay? And if you're going to be in the fast lane, your ass ought to be on rock and roll. If we just had mandatory stations, we wouldn't have these problems. But it's just funny thinking like that, that you get into a mindset and everything becomes a potential business. You look at everything as a potential business, or where businesses are failing and they're not addressing their failing. Okay? That about it?
That's it. Thank you, everyone, for the insightful responses. Definitely learned a lot today.
It'll be interesting to see what you do with this for sure. And so, any last comments, Frank?
No, Kyle. First of all, thank you for what you've done so far, and I want to thank you in advance for what you're going to do, because you are too good to not to be a lot of help to a lot of people, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with.
Okay, and Dick, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I just, Peter referred to the shiny objects. It's very easy to get distracted. With the next big deal, the next home run. If you make a commitment, stick with it, and you'll be successful. And Kyle, I think you're going to be great in the entrepreneur world, and I wish you nothing but the best. And thank you for your service.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for your service, Kyle. You have any closing thoughts before I give mine?
Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate this opportunity. This whole experience has been incredible, and hope to talk to each of you soon.
Great.
Okay, and as far as I'm concerned, I think this has been an interesting podcast for sure, and I think it's going to be wild that Kyle could actually show this to people. I never had anything that cool ever happen, so that ought to be a lot of fun, and to see what happens with that. And about the next shiny object, I know Phil's on mute, but he came up, or somebody came up with the greatest website I ever saw, which was, now I think it's Phil's website, sendpeopleYouHateGlitter.com. Marvelous. Let's still love it, Phil. Unmute yourself for 2 seconds and give me a status on that. Where are you with that? I'm not hearing you. Come on, Phil. Nope, not yet. Nothing. Maybe.
Hello.
There you go.
Okay. All right.
Send someone youhateglitter.com. Where are you?
It's still online. It's getting, we're promoting on Facebook, and it's I didn't want to. It was a novelty action, so I'm not going to put too much time behind it. I gave it a day of development, let it go, and if it makes something, it's an added bonus, and if it doesn't, it only took me 3 hours to put together. I don't want to use it as a distraction towards what my goals really are. So,
I'm so, well, as we would say in the Corps, I'm so butthurt over the fact that I didn't think of that. I really love the idea, So anyway, we'll have another update on that next week. All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks. And hang on. We'll stop the podcast. Don't go away.